is the Doge of Doge? Talk about a sentence I never thought I would actually say out loud. Tariffs, your taxpayer money, and the future of the president's cabinet. All big topics we're going to tackle today. I'm Jenna, and this is Smarter News. Well, we have received a lot of questions, and rightfully so, about tariffs, and many about Elon Musk and about Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. Both stories are really quickly developing. So here's a few things to consider as these headlines constantly change, and you're going to get a lot of different opinions. So let's just set a foundation here. We're going to talk a little bit about tariffs. I want you to think of tariffs like a toll. You pay a toll to cross a bridge. You're paying to enter a different space. Similarly, a business would pay a tariff to enter into a market. If a tariff is high, it can have several effects that can impact your life and your decisions, and by proxy, the global economy. And that's because the American consumer really matters. And that's why these tariffs could really matter. If they are high and there's enough of them on enough items, it can impact what you have available to you to buy or the price. And this could impact your behavior. And the pace of which you spend your money and how you spend your money impacts the US economy and the global economy overall. So this is why this is getting so much news. What President Trump proposed, a significant group of tariffs over the weekend, is a slew of tolls or tariffs on our largest trading partners, China, Canada, and Mexico. And these tariffs are high enough that there is the potential to have ripple effects. And this is why you're going to see headlines that range from the risk of recession to a trade war or beyond. But I just want you to notice something. President Trump spaced out his announcement of these tariffs and the implementation. So he announced the tariffs on Saturday, but he said they would not go into effect until Tuesday, midnight Tuesday. Sort of like Cinderella, but different. Very generally, he said he wanted better cooperation for border security from our partners. He wanted to stop the flow of illegal drugs into the country. So we had generally an idea of what he wanted, but nothing truly specific. And so in the aftermath of all of this, as we're getting closer to Tuesday, we've seen a flurry of activity. Mexico and the United States, so the Mexican president and the American president had a conversation. And this conversation led to a delay in the tariffs from going into effect, at least for the next month. Quick edit here, because this story is constantly changing. As soon as I recorded that podcast for you, we got breaking news that Canada's prime minister just announced that he had a good call with President Trump and that the tariffs on Canada will be delayed at least for 30 days. So a temporary pause. Both Canada and Mexico agreed, according to these reports, to give extra border security. 10,000 of their law enforcement officers to be at the southern or northern border of the United States. And in exchange for a few other concessions, now they're not going to have to face any tariffs, at least for the time being. This is a rolling negotiation of sorts for the president. And it's a reminder that we have to really watch for a difference between taking a public posture on a topic and the implementation. So taking a public posture on tariffs and actually seeing the policy go into effect. You see this often with President Trump. He'll talk about something, it'll cause a lot of headlines, but then we have to watch to see, does it actually develop into policy? Another big story is the action of Elon Musk and Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. I promise you, I don't think I'll ever get used to just having Doge just roll off the tongue. But we have two stories that involve Doge, again, from headlines that have developed over the weekend. One has to do with some questions about Doge or Doge team members having access to certain parts of the US Treasury Department. A lot of this is built around reports, so we're still learning a little bit more about this. And then the second story is a story that involves the largest provider of humanitarian aid in the world, and that is a government agency, USAID. And so we did a deep dive on all of these topics for our insiders, but I wanted to flag this for you about USAID because it has a mission to spend your money, American taxpayer money, on humanitarian causes around the world. And we have two good representations of two sides of this story. First, you're going to hear from Elon Musk and Senator Joni Ernst, a Republican, and then you're going to hear from Senator Kim, a Democrat from New Jersey.
We got all kinds of threats from USAID because I was trying to exercise my oversight capacity in Congress. So
I mean,
they,
that's just shocking. I mean, it's
oh,
how I mean, honestly, it's outrageous that a taxpayer-funded organization would threaten a U.S. senator uh, who is simply trying to figure out if American taxpayer money is being spent correctly and not fraudulently.
Because so much of that taxpayer money is not even going to, we love to feel good about helping starving children and name your country, but it's not going there.
It's
It's
not.
going
That's
to
a
pay
total lie.
rents in Paris.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
going to support somebody's fancy dinner to
100%.
entertain whoever.
About 20 years ago, when I first came to work for the federal government, I walked through these doors right behind me. I was started off my career in public service at USAID. And I just have to say how proud I was to be able to serve the country, how proud I was to work for USAID, to be part of the foreign policy of this country. And I have to tell you, it was really tough today walking through these same doors 20 some years later, only to see it shut down to employees. Now, I got all weekend long, I was getting calls and phone calls from people that I worked with at USAID, people who have been disrespected by this administration that pushes them to the side, basically calls them criminals. This is no way to govern. This is no way to treat public servants. And this is no way for us to conduct our foreign policy as a country.
So two very different points of view here. By Monday afternoon, the State Department said this and placed USAID under Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And this is part of their release of this information. I'm just quoting here. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has long strayed from its original mission of responsibly advancing American interest abroad. And it is now abundantly clear significant portions of USAID funding are not aligned with the core national interests of the United States. So it goes on to say, right now, they're going to place USAID under the Secretary of State and make this more aligned. There's going to be a lot of opinions about this. This story continues to develop. There's a question about what does this look for the current employees and projects of USAID. And right now, much of that is to be determined. Something to consider, though, related to this story is a bigger question, too, about Doge. And I just want to pull it out just for a second. One of the missions of the Department of Government Efficiency is to make sure our taxpayer money is being spent in an efficient way. It's oversight. But the question becomes, who is the Doge of Doge? Who has oversight of Doge? We've heard a lot of criticism coming from this administration, from Elon Musk, and from others about unelected bureaucrats spending our money in ways that may not be good. But Doge, in its formation, is also full of unelected bureaucrats. So how does this all play out? Who oversees Doge? It's just a question we're asking now. And again, a story that we're going to watch develop. Finally, I want to talk to you a little bit about nominations for the president's cabinet, because we had a lot of different cabinet nomination hearings last week. And so here's where everything stands. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's up for the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and Tulsi Gabbard, who's up as the nominee for the Director of National Intelligence, both apparently will have a committee vote on Tuesday. If the vote goes in their favor and they're passed out of committee, that means the vote can then go in front of the broader Senate, where they just need a simple majority in order to actually be confirmed as their actual positions that they're nominated for. I say this is apparently, reportedly, this is what we expect, because there can always be a last minute change if Republicans feel like they may not have the votes. So watch for this. We expect the votes for these committee hearings that have to be the first hurdle that these two nominees have to pass before they get to the broader Senate. We expect that on Tuesday. If for some reason we don't get it, that would be an interesting news item. If we do get it, we're going to be really looking at the results to figure out the next steps. In the meantime, Kash Patel, who's the nominee for the director of the FBI, at least at the time of this recording, we do not have a committee vote on him yet, but it's something we're going to be watching. One of the things that all of these stories have in common right now is a question about American leadership style, priorities, and also substance. And thinking about a big question about what do we really want American leadership to look like? What do we expect of our leaders? Is a question we can all ask each other and ourselves. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts? What is the most important trait for you in U.S. leadership today as you're watching a new administration demonstrate some of their leadership style. So just a few thoughts as we begin another busy news week. Thank you for your support of quick, concise, nonpartisan, smarter news. I'm Jenna. Have a great day.